Welcome to Stranger Danger on a Lonely Road, and this is a true story. I hope you've read my old stories in my book. Now let's talk about some new ones. Now I just got home from another camping trip where I found a little piece of heaven. And my Coleman tent, my new Coleman tent that I've been talking about, was almost all netting, and I was so surprised. But it was so cool because at night there was very little condensation. Of course, the rain flap is off so that you could see that. And the campground I was staying in was absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. And just before I get to the story, I can't resist saying how much I love cooking over an open fire and, of course, doing some fishing, which I got to do on this trip. And as we travel the highways of this great country, it's not unusual to see a hitchhiker once in a while. That's normal. So a few years ago on my way to Manitoba, I am loaded to the hilt with camping equipment, and I am in Montana, just south of Dell, Montana. And what is famous about Dell? It has the best homemade pie in the world. Well, next to my sister's. Yep, Dell, Montana is this big. And the pie was at the Cafe, CALF-A. Totally happy with my pie and coffee. I checked out the other sites around Dell, stopped in at this grocery store for where there were some souvenirs, and then I hit the road again. So I headed off down I-15, and after about an hour or so, I started to get bored, and I started to think about wouldn't it be nice to do some mushroom picking, and then I saw the tenting sign on the road. Now, even though I intended to sleep in a KOA campground that night, I had my back seat filled with my tri-folder mattress, foamy. It's a 6-inch foam mattress that folds into a cube, and I had quilts and sheets and pillows. My trunk was full of tent and chairs and fishing rod and axes and shovels and everything else. And the front seat had the cooler and all the extra junk that I would need in case I was going to make a different stop. And so without too much thought, I just hit the brakes and headed down the camping road. I didn't even see a sign that said how far the campsite was, but what I did see is some pretty countryside that I thought I should take some pictures of. So I stopped the car and got out of the car with my camera and started to walk off the road to get some pictures. There was one place where there was an old fence that had fallen over in a very green area. Obviously, there was some water, a creek or something that was there. So I'm busy taking pictures when the next thing happened. And for this, I do not have any photos, so I'm just going to give you a screen and let you close your eyes and imagine what I heard, saw, felt, and did. My photography session was interrupted as I became aware of a loud argument, which was really distracting by the use of the words effing this and effing that. I looked around to see where the sound was coming from, but I couldn't see anyone. I understood why when 3 heads appeared above the crest of a hill on the camping road where I hadn't yet explored, and I saw my 3 hitchhikers. My attention first went to 2 skinny, scruffy-looking men. Both of them had long hair and long beards, like not trimmed or anything, and they were both dressed in long dark pants and dark tops, like dark t-shirts. Then, in contrast, there was a woman, a heavy-set woman, who was dressed in cheap flip-flops that wouldn't hold up on any hiking distance, very short shorts, and a wee top with a bare midriff. No one had hats, and it was about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The next thing I realize is that they're taking turns pushing this old baby stroller. And attached, tied onto the baby stroller are, 3 or 4 stuffed to the gills garbage bags. You couldn't see what was inside, but also tied on to the frame were 2 or 3 pots, like a frying pan and another pot banging together as they moved along. So this was their camping gear, I surmised. The 3 of them hadn't seen me yet, so they continued talking about how their effing buddies left them behind and how they got up too late and how they needed to walk to the nearest town, which they didn't know was 20 or 50 miles, to get help, that there they could get some help. At the point when they were arguing about whose fault it was, one of them spotted me. And with a look of surprise, the woman shouted out, "Hey, do you have a cigarette? We're out of cigarettes and we really, really need a cigarette." So of course I'm apologizing that I don't smoke and I don't have a cigarette for them. And no, I'm sorry, I can't give them a ride to the next town because there's absolutely no room in the car. But I could give them some extra water to help them out. So as quickly as I can, I say goodbye and get back into the car and drive in the opposite direction that they're going. And as I pull away, I thank my guardian angels that they didn't figure out that there might have been a way they could bop me on the head and get a vehicle to go where they were going. And my takeaway from that day was that as a single person, I should not be going off by myself into out of the way places. Stick to regular campgrounds. So where did I sleep that night? Well, the answer is I headed to the nearest KOA campground where there's showers and cabins and safety and security and your own mattresses. And I had a great night's sleep. So my camping lately has either been KOA cabins or places that are in a campground, a paid campground. And I promise I will stay out of the wilderness camping unless I have company. There are a lot more stories in my published book on Amazon. I hope you check it out. You can also find me on author Valerie Varga on Facebook. And please subscribe or like, depending on where you found me. If you found me, please stick with me by following or subscribing. Thanks for watching.